1580 103.3 WPKY Coffee Talk is on the air. Morning conversations about things of interest to you. If you'd like to be a guest on Coffee Talk, just email us your information at WPKYonline@gmail.com. We're proud to call Caldwell County home. WPKY.
1580 103.3 WPKY. And Coffee Talk is on the air at 8:07 with Tess and Ty. And Bob Hayes is in the house. You and I spent an awful lot of time together here lately, Bob Hayes.
Well, it evolves around the sport of football, I think.
It has a lot to do with football. Middle school football, high school football. I think I'm following him around is what it is, and he just doesn't. He hasn't really realized it yet. But hey, we've had a great time with middle school football this year, and last night was no different, was it? It was such a good time. Of course, we had 8th grade recognition night last night because they wrapped up their season. That was it, and it was a great night to wrap up the season. The temperature kind of calmed down a little bit for us. We had a nice breeze going last night. I don't think you could have asked for better weather, and our kids really kind of pulled it out. And of course, 7th grade, 8-0 last night.
That's correct.
And then 8th grade was 28-0.
That's correct.
So wow, 8-1 and 10-1 respectively. They've had great seasons.
It's there's a lot of talent coming up through that 8th grade team and the 7th grade team as well. I was noticing. I was doing the commentary last night for the PA, and there were several 7th graders in that 8th grade game that I'd not seen before. So they got quite a bit of experience last night. And
depth, man. They really do on that middle school team have a lot of depth.
And we have about 5 or 6 kids that may play significant action next year as freshmen on the varsity team. That's how good they're going to be.
Well, and one of the things I've said all year, and we were picking at him last night. He was kind of picking at me. I never realized that my jersey, Cole Sherrill and I share the same jersey, evidently, because or share numbers anyway. His number was the same as mine. But that's a kid that I've watched all season. Landon is no different. He was amazing this year. But there were so many of them that really stood out. Miguel really stood out. Graham, of course, for the 7th grade, really stood out. I mean, we had a lot of, not just the 8th graders, but the 7th graders too, that did so good. But the one thing I loved about, and then I bragged on him a lot about this year, was Cole would always stand on the sidelines and mentor those 7th graders. He would stick around after that 8th grade game and mentor those 7th graders. And he was doing it again last night, and I was watching him. I think that's why they have such good depth.
It's been a great season for Coach Kukihiko, and as I say, there's definitely help on the way, and we've got a team right now that's really surprising at the high school level, as you'll see tonight, Bob, when you're out there.
I look forward to it.
And a big test coming up, no less.
Well, and I'll tell you, we need to introduce this guy right here too, because I'm pretty excited about, and I'm Tori Hammett too, Coach Hammett. I'm pretty excited about him being there. But I was talking about Bob Hudson, and of course that's Hall of Fame inductee. And when you talk about knowing talent, I think this guy ought to know talent. What do you think?
Well, he was a fine mainstay of the 97, 96, 98. Not the 98 team, but really an outstanding football player. And obviously, as you can see, we had size when we put our offensive line out there and our defensive line out there.
How important, Bob, do you think middle school football is in the long run? When you think about in your career, how instrumental was it when you were in middle school? Did you start out in Little League?
I did. I started out in Little League in Arkansas, actually. We moved here when I was starting the 8th grade, but I will say that middle school is where it all begins. I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to be on a team coached by Carol Boyd, but Larry Curling also. And then Larry, the year that I went to my freshman year, he switched over to high school, so there was some continuity there. But we just were really well prepared in high school for having played middle school ball. I mean, that's where you learn the basics, fundamentals. The playbook expands by the time you get to high school ball, but you learn those fundamentals while you're there, and they carry over. So absolutely vital.
Well, I'll tell you, that's some big names in Caldwell County, Bob Hayes. I mean, that's you mentioned Larry Curling and, of course, Coach Gates and, Coach Hammett. I mean, you can't get any bigger name than a Hammett, right? We were talking about you guys here just a second ago, and what a wonderful season you had.
It has been a great year. I mean, that team is really good. That's a several of those kids are going to blend right into high school next year. Some of them are going to play. I mean, there's some really good kids on that team. That group's been together a while, and of course, Coach K and the rest of the guys did a good job with them, trying to prepare them for what it's going to look like when they step onto the high school field next year. Similar offense schemes and defense schemes. So those guys should be ready to blend right in. Some of them already have good size and good speed, and I would think the high school would be looking forward to them getting there.
How helpful do you think it is when they're able to really interact with the high school team and practice with them around and be on the field with them some and really get to know them? How, even early on, as in 7th grade, how important do you think that is in the long run?
I think it feeds into them a little bit that they can see, they can see themselves down there. Every kid kind of dreams to play with the big kids, and so I think it gives them an opportunity to see what the practice is like as well. We catch them looking every now and then, kind of watching, and we also see the high school looking down a little bit, watching some of our quarterbacks throw or some of our receivers catch or linemen. They're kind of it's in the grand scheme of things, it's one big, huge team, one big school trying to be all that it can be. And again, I think this 8th grade group coming into what's there right now, they're going to have a chance to compete at some bigger levels, so we're looking forward to it.
Favorite game this year? Which one just really stood out to you?
Gosh, I wasn't prepared for that question.
I know, isn't it great?
Not the Paducah Tillman game, Tori.
Probably not. I mean, they gave a really good effort against Paducah Tillman. I mean, if you could just pluck one kid off that team from Paducah Tillman and not let him play, that's a really good game, and it was a pretty good game anyway. We got to 10 there at the beginning of the 4th quarter, but
I'll tell you though, that was a great game. I know we had our loss that time, but man,
that
Bob,
team's
it
tough.
was amazing. Those kids come out and they didn't give up, and they really come right back at it and really fought.
And we played that game with a couple of injuries too. One couldn't play at all. Jackson couldn't play at all.
Right.
And he's a huge role in that team. Not that he's that every spot's not important, but he plays a major role. And then Jay Shine got dinged up, midway through that game as well, and so we didn't have all our horses, but they were good. I mean, we could play them every day, and they're probably just a little bit better than us. But I don't know. I guess last night's 8th grade recognition game, I don't really have a favorite, I don't guess, but that one was kind of cool to see all the kids with their families and getting to walk out and be represented. And they had a huge time last night after the game, and it was a good time. So good for those kids. They got more wins in the future.
They had a great season. They really did. They enjoyed it. They seemed to learn a lot. This has really been a good learning and bonding season, I think. And I kudos to all of y'all, because you put a lot of work and effort and time in our kids, and we appreciate that.
Well,
and it shows, though. It does. And because we were just talking about before you got here the mentoring that I've watched the 8th graders give to those 7th graders. Cole was one of them that I just see do a lot of.
Right.
But other ones do as well. You talked about the high schoolers. The high schoolers are right there on that bench, because a lot of them will come in, during the middle school game and go down to the bench and kind of try to pump them up.
Very much so. We had great attendance and folks wanting to see them play and be around. That's good.
Well, Bob, any games that stand out to you over the middle school season?
Just the fact that I only saw the home games, so they play well. And last night I was noticing in that 8th grade game we have 4 drives and 4 scores. So you can't ask for more success and efficiency than that. And it's a ground attack and a passing attack. So we're growing them to do things at the high school level, not just one facet, if you will.
One thing I've noticed this year is the running ability of these kids. I mean, they can no fear. None. I'd throw me out there in front of the biggest guy ever, and that's what they were up against kids that were bigger than them a lot this year, and a lot of them were. But I didn't see fear on any of their faces, and that surprised me.
There's I say this in a positive way. There's some savages on that 8th grade team. I'm just going to tell you.
Miguel is a beast. Those kids, God bless them.
I would. Well, I hate to name names, but I'm just telling you that's a good group. That's a good group. That group has a chance to really do some good things. And when they get under those high school coaches and get the kind of like you had said right there, they will expand some things for them when they can take on more. And man, those kids, they got great speed. They got pretty decent size. They got some like you say, some fearless people that are they're into contact, and everybody's not into major contact, but that group's got to
seem to eat it up.
Yeah, that group doesn't mind contact at all. So
well, and I know a lot of people say, "Well, your kid played." Well, no, mine's 7th grade. It's not 8th grade. But I will tell you, these 8th graders were so much fun to watch this year. I was always on the edge of my seat. I holler a lot anyway at football games. But
was that I heard up there?
Well, yeah, every week, twice a week. But we had a lot of fun as parents and a lot of people that come out that didn't necessarily have a dog in the fight, but they were there because it was fun. That high energy, it was always something going on and somebody, starting something. And is that the way that practice was too? Do you run? Were they always so energetic at practice?
I have to be careful. Coach K get mad at me if I tell too much about his practice. But and I got a video. I should post it, but I hadn't. They have a good time, but at the same time, Coach K reels them in a little bit and tries to keep them on task, if you will. But that group's got a lot of natural talent, and 7th grade coming up is going to be good too. I mean, they're just not quite as big yet, but they're gonna be there as well. So we try to have a good time with it. We got the good set of coaches around, Brandon Sigler and John H. and Andy Davis, and then of course I just kind of piddled with them a little bit. And then Coach K. But
you don't give yourself enough credit.
That's a fun group. We had a good time.
There was one play last night, Tori, that amused me up in the press box. One of our running backs got tackled rather harshly and slung down. We gave him the ball the next time, and he was like Dick Butkus running down the field around the end.
Not gonna have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I have to make some of these kids mad before they'll give their full energy.
Yeah, there's something to that. Sometimes they
after
just
you get hit, it's fair game.
Yeah.
No, I will tell you, that's a great insight right there, though, because really and truly, even the away games, and I picked on a couple of them about it over the years. It's like, what do I just got to go down there and make you mad?
Yeah.
What's the secret here? Because they would really kick in, after a while, but the first part of it, they just didn't seem to have sometimes
you're
the
right.
same.
Maybe that's a high school, you can't take plays off. Like tonight, nobody can take a play off tonight. We take a play off tonight, we got issues. So, it'll be them getting some getting a little more maturity in their football, and maybe they won't take any plays
is what we
off.
call this.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you now. What was when you were in middle school? What was your favorite drill to run?
Well, they don't do that as much anymore, I don't think. But we love 2 of them, Bull in the Ring and Oklahoma.
Oh, I knew. I wish I'd have wrote it down. I knew Oklahoma was going to be on there.
People always say they want to, be healthy enough to play catch with their kids in the yard. I want to be healthy enough to play Oklahoma in the yard with my boys.
I love that. Well, what is the drill that makes the most difference? I mean, is that one of those that is just really instrumental in teaching?
No, those are both designed to make you tough. That's the essential part of those 2 drills.
Making blocks, shedding blocks, making tackles, form tackles, teaching the running backs how to fight through a tackle. I mean, that's basic football just on a 2-on-1 level.
Right. Well, I know back on the in the Gates days and the curling days that was a little rougher kind of football back then.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
certainly more finesse. Spread the field now, and let's get our guys in open space.
Right.
Yeah, you hear complaints sometimes that guys they'll fumble the ball a little bit because they're not prepared for that hardcore contact. But they're doing a good job trying to get that mix of contact, no injuries, and then finesse. So it's a fun game, but it's certainly different than what he's talking about there.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, I guess back in the day, I say back in the day, it really has not been that long, or it doesn't seem like it. I mean, it's not like we're 80 years old. I think we're fairly young still. Thank you very much. But I mean, when you think about it, did you play both sides of the ball? Because I hear you were a wonderful DE.
Yeah, I played both sides of the ball. I played right tackle on offense, and that's where I was on the All-State team, was at right tackle on offense. But I played my mirror position, which would be left tackle, since we played a 5-front back then, left tackle on defense. So, played both ways. We all did. Andy Davis, one of the coaches we just mentioned, was lined up right beside me pretty much my whole career at Caldwell.
So you can, when we go off the air, you can tell me everything you'd like to tell me. No, I have a DE in my house. What is the, when you were practicing, what is the one thing that helped you over the years, get better? Was it conditioning and running? Is that something that, you would say was something that really helped you? If you're talking to some of these kids, and I hear it all the time, come out of their mouths, they'll look at these coaches and they'll say, what do I need to practice, coach? What do I need to go home and do, coach? What do I need to do this summer, coach? What was it for you that seemed to make the most difference when you were younger?
Couple of things. We had the hill that we would run, and Coach Gates would just run us on that hill until we just couldn't stand up anymore. So the hill, we were better conditioned, I think, than any other football team we played my whole career. But what was the one thing that got me prepared? People like Andy Davis and Mark Davis at practice, people like Kelly Tinsley. It was the best guys I played against were on my own team. And that was the thing. So if we got after each other, we took practice personally. We did not want to get beat on the practice field. And by the time we got out to the real field and on game night, we played together as a unit, and we were ready to get after somebody new.
Do you think that bonded you more as a team?
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it.
That's one thing I noticed about these teams this year, and I think even on the Bob Hayes on the high school level as well. They seem to be bonded. These are the teams just seem to. They've gone through I think in the last few years, every level of emotion they could together, and they've played for years together. And I think that really has bonded the teams in a way that, I just, as a bystander watching, they just look like they're very in sync.
The coaching staff was very, very important back then because Jim would come home with a scouting report. He was on the 98 state championship team, played with Bob and Andy, and in fact, I think he was Andy's goat. I think when they had to drag the equipment up the hill.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I think he was his mule, so to speak.
Everybody needs a goat.
Well, or mule or whatever we called it back then. But he would come home and really praise Coach Curling about the defensive tendencies that they would see in that scouting report, and then take it to the field the following Friday night and just execute it. And that was another characteristic of the team back then. They were all highly intelligent. You could move them around from this position to that position. They knew the plays backwards, forwards. Bob could probably play three positions. Jim could play three positions. Everybody could play three positions on that offensive line. So it was. They were great students, as Bob attests to here. I have yet to meet, until I meet Bob from time to time, a teacher with his path in French literature. So I mean that's some real high level learning, and a professor at BYU no less.
It's not the traditional career path for someone that played football, but it's what I wanted to do, and I was fortunate enough to have my mother who, she was a teacher at Christian County, became a guidance counselor there, and she told me when I was leaving, said, find what you like to do and find a way to make a career doing it.
Absolutely.
I like to read, so I became a literature professor.
That's a testament, I think, because that's one of the things that we all try to stress, and as parents, boy, that's hard to, and I know as coaches it is too, it's hard to balance football and homework. I mean, that's the two things. And, for you, I think you're a wonderful example, and really and truly, I love the fact that you're being inducted, because I think you're a great role model for these kids, because as parents, we're always hollering at them, look, you need to be smart too, and this is something that, I know you want to be athletic, I know you want to succeed here, but you got to succeed in the classroom too. And I think you're a great example of how to do both.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it starts, I think, with Larry Curling too. People that put in the time in the film room to give us those reports, and it's stressed knowing the mental side of the game too. I remember vividly trips to Fort Campbell, trips even to Hopkins Central, where we had to bring our playbook on the bus, and Coach Gates would get up and walk back and say, "Give me that. What are you going to do on this play? And you better know your assignment, or he's going to give you a look." But it's a mental side of the game, and I think it carries over from the football field and from the film room to the classroom. That you have to be in the books, you have to be learning, you have to be not just getting your body ready, but getting your mind ready.
Well, and I'll tell you that's another thing that I think has helped them. This year we've had a lot of, I think, spiritual support from, as far as the stands to the teachers to the staff to the coaches, all the way around. We had an unfortunate accident on, with Jackson Towery, and God bless him. It was. I'll tell you, I told him last night. I said I'm going to wrap you in bubble wrap because every time I see him take a step now, I'm like, oh, he's going to fall. Oh, Jackson. So I think, when we look at it, we know that that's a chance that something like that's going to happen. But when you see it, that's a different ball game altogether.
Yeah.
But we've had such supportive community that has rallied around him, and the different counties that have really rallied around him. And the kids just seem to, hey, we're going to do it for Jackson. We're going to do this. And it just, when he comes in, they're all glad to see him, and I think that he's been an inspiration to them in a lot of ways.
I think so. All sports, team sports, can generate that bond you were talking about a minute ago, and they want to. Not only in Jackson's scenario, but one of the things you try to tell them is you need to do your job for the guy next to you, and he does his job for the guy next to him, and take that I out of it, because we live in a world of I, and you really don't have any space for that in a team sport. So that's the key. And Jackson going down did put a little rally cry on them to once they got over the emotional part of that. And then found out, that he was going to be able to rehab himself back and be okay. They talked about playing, getting one for Jackson.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if it translates when we talk about how exciting the season was, but I really truly think this was just a fun season all the way around. I mean, we had don't get me wrong, we had our scary moments and some lows in there, but we had a whole lot of fun, and it was a whole lot of fun to watch, and we did appreciate it. And of course, the Hall of Fame tonight. Bob, what is the schedule for that, so that nobody misses anything? Because we don't want to miss anybody, because it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I said I was picking on Chad Lane earlier, and of course he's being inducted tonight as well. And I said I graduated with him, and now I feel old, because if he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Does that mean I'm old too? That's not fair. Wait a minute.
I think there's a lot of festivities prior to the game tonight with the 10 and the inductees within their families being out there reminiscing with their teammates and some of the ex-Hall of Famers or old or present Hall of Famers. And the induction ceremony won't take place until halftime of the game tonight. So it's going to be a great atmosphere. It always is a great atmosphere with when you honor former athletes. And
now I did hear there was a tent over by the field house.
Well, that's going to be that's where they'll be mingling and all that. And I would hope maybe you could say something to Coach McGowan, Bob, maybe going in, maybe speaking to the team, because I think you have really a nice message you could deliver to those kids tonight.
Yeah.
If you can work that out with Coach McGowan, he's in charge of what goes on in the tunnel, if you will, coming out before the game and all that. So, no, it's going to be a festive arena tonight. Weather is now broken to the point where we're 20 degrees cooler.
Yes.
It's just a great night for football. Two traditional programs going at it.
I'll tell you, of course, our broadcast is going to start at 5:30, and we're going to go over, of course, the pregame and that sort of thing. But I did want to run over the inductees, Mark Knight, and, of course, Chad Lane, the one I pick on a lot. No. Gary Goodacre, and, of course, he's with WPK. We're going to see him right down there on the sidelines tonight, down there with Todd Griffin. Will Barnes, of course, assistant coach for the Caldwell County High School Tiger football team here in Princeton, and Cameron Williams as well. And so, again, that tent, from what I hear, go over and show your kids, that, look, these are Hall of Famers that come from right here. And I think it's great, because when the kids, I remember when CJ, and I'm going to tattle on him because he's at school and he can't hear it. Right. But when the older players once a year, maybe twice a year, would come down and go around the schools and make their parade, he was so excited when he come home when he was in primary school, because he got to see the football players. Mm-hmm. And we talk about the little kids and how much they look up to the high schoolers. Well, Mr. Bob Hudson and those inductees are what those high schoolers are looking to. And now, you're the next step for them. So, I mean, I would love to see some of the high schoolers come down and talk to you guys and any of the kids. But, I mean, you've got a really great message to send to them.
I hope they will. I hope they will come down. I know even when I was a player, I remember Hall of Fame night, and I'd see those guys, and they'd come out and, be recognized at halftime and wave at the crowd. And I remember having the thought, I hope I play well enough that I'll be remembered one of these days and get to do that. So this is a dream come true. This is something that means the world to me. I hope I am able to talk to those boys and give them a short message.
So I hear you travel a lot these days? You like traveling around?
I do. I travel quite a bit with work. Being a French professor, I have to go to conferences and present. And the nice thing is those conferences are usually in pretty interesting cities. So I get a chance to travel quite a bit, yeah.
See, that's what reading books can do for you, Bob.
Well, absolutely. I mean, just in the education that people receive here from Caldwell County,
right.
It does them well, bodes them well for the future, as evidenced by Bob and the 9 million graduates that have left this school system and gone out into the world and done well.
What about the game tonight? What's it look like? We're looking good?
Well, I think it's going to be a good game. I think you have to concede the favorite role to Mayfield, but looking in the Paducah paper this morning and seeing some of the picks, the Paducah columnist says Mayfield by 35. Well, I can't believe that's going to happen. So
I don't believe that.
And just I know Coach McClung has mentioned to the kids already this week, just win one play. Just keep winning one play. And pretty soon you're in the game, and if you're in the game in the fourth quarter, you always have a chance to win it.
That's right.
I think there was a couple of movies that actually had it. One of them that I watched recently, I guess it's why it's kind of on my mind, when it talks about, how far you can go and how far, when you're not thinking about what your limits are or where you can stop. If you're constantly thinking about where, as long as I get to here, I'm good. Don't give yourself limits and then see how far you can go. And I think that's a testament to what these kids have done this year, and they didn't know they couldn't, Bob.
Well, as they say, the sky is the limit.
That's right.
So you only put that situation on yourself if you're not looking forward and dreaming, if you will. So, but we've got a team that will show up tonight, and we've got some things that Mayfield had better be ready for. So it's going to be a nice, interesting evening at the stadium.
Well, I'm excited and I'm ready. And Bob Hudson, thank you so much for coming in and being on the show today, because it's quite an honor. I really do appreciate it. Anytime you're in, you got to come in, and maybe next time we'll grab Gates and a couple others, and we can embarrass them while they're
Oh, they'll embarrass me.
Now, they may have a story or two to tell. What do you think? And, of course, Torrey Hammett, we appreciate Coach Hammett being here. And, of course, he was one of the coaches there for the middle school football team this year. And, Bob, I think the coaching staff for the middle school was top-notch this year, and I think they did a wonderful job.
Well, I would have to agree with that. I mean, I'm just glad to see people like Torrey down there mentoring to those kids and things of that nature. And the other coaches, we're talking about Andy. Bob, he has a son that's a sophomore this year. He'll start defensive line tonight, maybe middle guard. And his other son is going to be a really outstanding high school football player. He was a quarterback, Landon Davis, on this year's 8th grade team, and really an outstanding, going to be really good. So, the apple doesn't fall from the tree, if you will. I'll get it out here in a minute.
Skylar had a big night last night.
Too many F's in the sentence.
I'll tell you, it's hard to pick. And when you were talking about throwing names, it's hard to pick those one names. And, we all go and we sit in the stands, and you can say, oh, well, there goes Graham and them green socks. CJ had the ugliest gold shoes you ever seen in your life, but I knew where he was because of them ugly gold shoes. I mean, it's one of those things at the first of the year, you're like, man, how are we going to get through this? And then the last, you're like, oh, now I'm going to bawl and cry because I don't know what to do with myself. But we appreciate everybody coming in. Bob, we'll see you this evening. Of course, we start everything at 5:30, right?
Correct.
And then you and Dennis will have the game?
We'll have the game probably the 5:30 is the area-wide football, what's happening tonight in the area. Then we go on with the pregame interview with me and Wayne, and then we start live at 6:30.
All right. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being
Thank
with
you.
us. It's
Thanks for having
Coffee
us.
Talk with
Thank you,
Tess
Tess.
and Ty and 1580 103.3 WPKY. Stick around.
The following is a true story.
I had a lady that was in her mid-70s, and I'd sold her timeshare, and that was the lowest I'd ever felt in my life. I knew then that I had to do something to simply not to go to hell for selling timeshare.
Chuck McDowell founded Wesley Financial Group to help folks cancel their timeshares permanently.
Called her and everybody that I'd sold timeshare to, and I said, this is what I said to you that was a lie, and this is what you need to do to cancel your timeshare. From that point, people started referring friends to me to help them cancel the timeshare, and that's how it all started. I fought the world's largest timeshare company in federal court. If I had lost that lawsuit, there would be no one helping people that have been lied to when they bought timeshare. If we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare or we'll give your money back. That's what makes us different.
Call Wesley Financial Group now for a free information kit. 800-838-2626. That's 800-838-2626. 800-838-2626.
What does your morning sound like?
Morning, Al.
Next stop, 32nd Street.
Welcome to McDonald's.
Hi, can I get an Egg McMuffin, please?
Here's to making your morning routine a little better with a delicious breakfast from McDonald's.
There's an advantage in being the home team. You know who Emma Talley, Jake Lewis, and Pat Gates are. You've seen the wall around Butler Stadium and have heard of the Caldwell Crazies. Trice Hughes. We're your home team. Here's our home team deal of the week.
2019 Ram Crew Cab 4x4, 16,000 miles. NADA retail $39,150. Price priced at $36,500.
Get this home team deal of the week at Trice Hughes. Find us on Highway 91 North, Princeton, or TriceHughes.com.
Ham Festival 2019 is coming October 11th to the 13th to downtown Cadiz. Come join the fun of the 43rd Annual Ham Festival with music, food, arts and crafts, to the petting zoo and rides. It's going to be a family experience you will never forget. Be sure to follow all the fun at WKDZRadio.com and on the WKDZ Facebook page as we ham it up for the 43rd Annual Ham Festival, October 11th through the 13th. These businesses would like to welcome everyone to the Ham Festival. Penny Ryle Electric, Goodwin Funeral Home, Lights Plumbing and Electric, Goodwin Insurance, and McNichols Electric. Let's ham it up.
This is Jerry Gillum of AgWest Financial. I'm excited to introduce Agrichem as our new retail partner in the region. AgWest and Agrichem share the same philosophy, working together for your success. And with our new partnership, Agrichem goes beyond seed, fertility, and crop protection products with the addition of AgWest loan products, including secured and unsecured lines of credit, leasing options, and real estate, facility, and equipment loans. Call me, Jerry Gillum, at the Agrichem office in Hopkinsville for more information.
1580 103.3 WPKY. Tess and Ty and Coffee Talk is on the air this morning, and we're going to change gears just a little bit. Actually, a lot of bit, I guess, because Miss Gray is here this morning. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you as well, Tess, and it's great to be here this morning.
We were just talking about the band, and I'm listening to a band play right now.
Is that right?
You know, the band did do good last night. That was the middle school band, not the high school band.
Exactly.
That was the middle school band. And boy, did they do good.
They did a fantastic job. Mr. Henry does an amazing job with them. I actually even saw on Facebook where they had Pep Club, and the middle school band was playing Up a Storm. It's just wonderful to see kids involved and excited about it.
Well, in school spirit, and they work so hard on those instruments.
Exactly.
And so tonight we get to hear when they go up to the high school. Now we get to, and the big band performance tonight, because they're going to have the full competition piece from start to finish.
Well, that's great.
And it's really impressive. They worked really hard on it, and I'm partial to that band. Can you tell?
Just a little, Tess, but that's
I
okay.
love that, though. I like that, one kid does one thing, one kid does another. And this is one of the things that I've been hearing a little bit about as well. Can you introduce who you have with you?
Sure. I'm excited to be able to be here today with Miss Ann Banister and Reverend Ken Godshall. We're just really excited. We have our Martin Luther King Jr. service annually, and this year Brother Ken was enlightened and wanted to do something a little different. So he's here and we're here just to share some of the information with you about our essay contest.
Could you tell us just a little bit about, or a lot of bit, actually, I'd like to hear all about this essay contest and who it's for and maybe what the topic is. I will say, my child came in yesterday, and she said, one of them, and she said, Mom, there's this essay contest, and I'm really excited about it, and I want to do it. And so she started to tell me. I said, wait, I'm going to hear all about it tomorrow. So let me in on what we need to know about this thing.
We're starting an essay contest, one each for the middle school and one for the high school. The middle school students are invited to participate in an essay that will be focused on the life and legacy of the civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Their topic is, who was Martin Luther King Jr.? We want them in 250 words to tell us when he lives, what he was known for, why he made a difference, and why Dr. King is remembered today. The details of that contest are available from middle school principal Steve Smiley, and we're asking the kids to complete their essay by early November so that we can grade it for the January event.
Where do you suggest that they do some of the research? Because I think one of the things that, if you all see me on this live video, I'm putting my sunglasses on and off. That breeze last night blew right. It was a wonderful, cool breeze, but it irritated my eyes. So I'm not trying to be cool, I guess. But where do you I think my favorite part about the essay, any essay that the kids do, is the research they have to do for the essay. So, because by the time it's done, especially with the competitiveness, they're having fun with it, and they don't even realize they're really and truly studying and learning so much at that moment. And the lessons that they learn in this particular essay, I think, are really important lifelong lessons. So, where do you suggest that they do the research, or something that would be enlightening and maybe inspire them?
Ann and Paulette are both retired teachers. Maybe I'll allow them to talk a little bit about how students can get started.
We thought that one of the best things to do would be to interview people who, of course, they're going to be older. They're going to be like me, and who followed Dr. King, who were impacted by Dr. King, and of course, we encourage them to go. The next thing I would encourage them to do would be to go for his speeches and the videos, and of course we want them to read as well. But I think firsthand, for people who knew the struggle, I think that's where I would go.
Well, and it's not just the big cities either. They think about, that's just Alabama, or that's just this place or that. No. We had segregated schools right here. There were things that back in the day, and thank goodness, that's the one part of the internet I like is all the research and the speeches and that sort of thing that they can go right on the internet and find in a lot of ways. And now our library has so much available, even on that sort of thing, that it's kind of right there and easy for them to get, right?
Exactly. And like Mrs. Banister said, firsthand accounts are amazing to be able to get that information and to sit down and talk to someone who experienced or lived through those times during the civil rights movement. But just being able to dig into and try to understand some of the things that Dr. King was trying to convey through his speeches and through the letter from the Birmingham jail. Lots of things out there that our students can go in, and not just to go and find out, he was born on this day, whatever. We know that information, but we really want to know who he truly was.
Well, and I know that there was different issues that he really covered more on maybe than others, but he taught you how to be a decent human being. Just in general, it didn't have to be all about segregation or anything like that. He was really teaching us how to be a good human being, period.
Exactly. That was the thing that, of course, I was young, and I can remember the day he was assassinated. I was feeding my baby, and I was sad, but when I thought of Dr. King, I thought, well, it's the struggle for the black people,
right?
But it wasn't. It was for all of us, because when one of our our fellow humans, when their freedom is taken away, we all suffer.
Right. Well, and I think that's, that the way that you put that, I like that, because that was a struggle for the United States and for the human beings that lived in the United States. And that was, there was so many things that we struggled with. It was almost a civil war in a lot of ways. And let's learn from that and not make the same mistakes again. And I think if the kids can walk away with that, what as far as lessons that they're learning, what do you all hope that they get out of this the most? What do you hope that by doing this that the kids walk away with the most, Ms. Gray?
I would like for them to take what they see and what they learn and even look at how it applies today. What's going on in the United States today? What's going on across the world today? Are there people that are struggling to have certain rights and so on? So how does it relate to that time? How does it relate to now? And then what do they see as ways to fix it for the future? What can they do? What can I, as a student who will be growing up and who might end up like a Bob Hudson at Brigham Young University?
Isn't that great?
It's amazing, fascinating. But how does that impact me? I think is one of the things that sometimes we don't think about. How does it impact them?
And what can I do?
And what can I do about it?
Well, and I think the other part of that is I want them so badly to not be afraid to have the conversation and not be afraid to ask the questions, because that's how you know and that's how you understand. And I think a lot of times we're so scared and we don't know how to ask, we don't know who to ask, but we need to make sure that we find a way to do so, because that's where we understand a lot of things.
Exactly right. Tolerance is the word I think that's so important for our students to learn and to understand. And I know we have information that's a little different about the high school's essay.
The essay there is going to be a little bit longer, 350 words, not 250.
Oh, wow.
And there we're asking them to sort of address sort of higher value questions, not just who he was and when he was born and died, but what it means for us and how we can build on his legacy today. So we're asking kids to do the personal application that Ann and Paulette were talking about. We want it to be a personal essay, not just a civics essay that anybody could write.
I like that.
Exactly.
How does that affect me? How did that affect my family, and how does it affect me? We do. I mean, we have a lot of those same issues, and it's so sad that we didn't learn our lesson the first time. Let's not make it take a third time. Let's get it right this time.
Right.
So, as far as when they get these essays in, then what? What step do we move now?
Our deadline to have them turned into the principal's office at each respective school is November 11th. And then once they're turned in, we'll go through a process of selecting the top 3 in each category, middle school and high school. And then we will invite them to come, and actually the first place winner will read their essay during our service on January 20th of 2020.
I think that's going to be fun. I really do. And we would love to have them in here.
And we would hope to do that as well. That was part of what we'd like for, if WPKY will allow it, we'd love for them to be able to come in and read.
I'd love that.
We've already got a permission slip, and we've got that on there.
Yeah, so it's good thing you say okay.
That's okay.
I did. And I know Miss Beth would as well, because that and Ty, I mean, it's one of those things that when the kids do something good, that's what I want to scream from the ceiling, so that other kids know. Taekwon was in here not too long ago, and he was so shy, bless his heart. And guess who I saw at the football game last night giving away food?
Taekwon.
And passing it out. And I was like, looky there, he's still doing it. And I think that's one of those things. He's teaching and leading by example.
Exactly.
And so once we've got I guarantee you there are going to be questions. So where do they pick up these sheets, and if they have information, questions and that sort of thing, how do they get a hold of someone?
Well, they can actually turn their essays in to the high school principal, so the principal's office. And then we also have a Facebook page that is about the essay, and they can message any questions they have to that page, and I'll answer that for them. We also put the information about the essays on the page as well. So that's one way. And we know students might not look at Facebook, but parents do. So we encourage all of our parents to share the information and encourage their children to participate.
I like it when social media can be used for something good. How about that?
Exactly. And Miss Banister wanted to know what the name of the page was, just so I didn't forget. But it's actually called the MLK Junior Essay Contest. It's public, so they can search for that. and they'll see the information.
Well, I'm excited, and I know the kids are going to enjoy it because I've got one that was very excited to tell me about it yesterday. So, hey, congratulations for that, because I think this is a great way to teach these kids.
Well, and if it's okay, Tess, I just want to say one thing about Brother Ken. He came to Caldwell County when they moved into our community and had the vision to do our MLK service, and he, got out in the community and invited churches to participate, and this will be our 5th year to actually have that service. And he was recognized by Community Disciples Incorporated as our Citizen of the Year because of his service and his commitment to wanting to make Caldwell County a community that fellowships together. So just wanted to give kudos to him.
Congratulations.
Thank you, and I would also like to thank our school district for their support. Mr. Nate Huggins, our superintendent, high school principal Christy Phelps, and also middle school principal Steve Smiley. They are really helping out and supporting this, and we appreciate their help.
Well, it makes it a whole lot easier when you've got administrators that are right there ready to back you up and say, hey, I'll help.
Right. And another thing I wanted to pitch in with Mrs. Banister, too, it's just not like just go do a little essay. We actually are looking at and utilizing the Kentucky Department of Education's on-demand writing prompts, on-demand writing scoring guide. So when we actually score the essays, it's what our students actually would do in 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade as far as part of the K-Prep assessment. So we're using the same scoring guidelines that they would do as far as testing. So we wanted to make it, if we're going to participate with the schools, we certainly wanted it to be, reflective of what our students would do if they were actually taking a test or even writing in the classroom.
I think that's
wonderful.
wonderful.
A rubric.
Yes.
And we will do blind scoring. They will not have their we'll take their names
off of it.
Yes.
Right. So, see, I think that's great, though, because that means that everything is all, fair.
It's authentic, actually.
Right.
The purpose of writing is exactly.
Well, that is wonderful. Thank you for all of you do. I mean, I'm telling you, all of these three are community leaders. I tell Miss Gray that all the time, how wonderful she is, because I love this lady. I've watched her with children over the years, and she's been instrumental in it as well.
She was my boss.
Well,
we worked together, and Miss Banister was an outstanding, gifted, and talented teacher, but teacher in general. When I have students, I can remember students talking about things that Miss Banister taught them and that they still remember. So she, and then of course what she does too with our animal, she's involved in the community. So when teachers retire, they don't necessarily always retire. We find other things that we're passionate about and go out and serve.
I love that though, because you're passionate about the kids. It's made her emotional, but I think we need to say thank you every once in a while. Isn't she awesome?
Yes, she is.
But it's one of those, I think that's great when the kids will tell you a lot about a person very quickly. And if they're drawn to you and they do well under your tutelage, then you're doing a lot of things right.
Exactly.
And I think that's wonderful.
And now
thank
it's
you.
animals.
Now it's animals.
Hey, animals are a great judge of character.
Exactly.
And we appreciate it, and congratulations again on your recognition.
Thank you for having us here today.
Yes, thank you, Tess.
Well, thanks so much. You guys have a wonderful time, and let us know how this goes because we want to stay in with this one. Okay. It's 8:54 with Tess and Ty and Coffee Talk. Stick around. I believe Josh Cook's in the house. He's going to come in here in just a few seconds and tell us all about what Modern Woodmen's got going on right next to Tess and Ty in 1580 103.3 WPKY.
Thank you so much.
Home team, you know who. Emma Talley, Jake Lewis, and Pat Gates are. You've seen the wall around Butler Stadium and have heard of the Caldwell Crazies. Trice Hughes, we're your home team. Here's our home team deal of the week.
2019 Rab Crew Cab, 4x4, 16,000 miles. NADA retail, $39,150. Trice priced at $36,500.
Get this home team deal of the week at Trice Hughes. Find us on Highway 91 North, Princeton, or tricehughes.com.
I listen all day.
Today was made for classic hits. Classic hits.
1580 103.3 WPKY. And of course, one of my favorite people's in the house, Josh Cook with Modern Woodmen. Good morning. Hey, we had a great time last night out there. The breeze is blowing. It looks like the seasons are changing.
That's right.
Finally, I get to stop sweating for a minute. This morning was the most refreshing thing in the world when it kind of hits you in the face.
Yes.
that can hit me in the face any day, right there.
I agree.
I said, on the stink and sweatometer, it's been been pegging it.
It has.
But this man comes back from Alabama and said, oh, by the way, I did 12 million other things while I was there. And this was going on while I was gone. I don't know how you keep it together, but you've got a pretty important and a really nice thing going on right now through Woodmen's, right?
We do. Modern Woodmen recognizes a hometown hero each year, and so this year we wanted to recognize and remember Coach David Barnes. And so tonight we're going to present just a nice certificate to Miss Rachel and Will right before the game starts, and we're also, Modern Woodmen will make a charitable donation, and they've chosen the Vanderbilt Parkinson's Research Center to receive that. So it's just another way that Modern Woodmen gets involved, that we care about our community, and we want to recognize those who go above and beyond. And for all those years, Coach Barnes did. I had him in school and grew up with him, and he wasn't just a coach. He was a friend, and he was a mentor, and so we just wanted to recognize that.
We were just talking about that with Bob Hudson.
Yeah.
And I said, man, what a role model he is for so many kids.
Yeah.
Don't just we want to be fantastic athletes. We want you to get those scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to do everything, but we want you to be smart too.
Yes.
And look, it is absolutely possible to be both. And I love when he's sitting there. I thought, Barnes would have got a kick out of that. As a teacher, and a coach, I think that's something that he would have really liked.
It was. I just know whenever I was in school, he really pushed everybody on the academic side before the field side. So
I think that's wonderful.
And it comes one before the other. So
well, and the Parkinson's, now that's something that a lot of people suffer from, and if they're not suffering from it, they have a family member or a friend that does. And, Vanderbilt does a lot of research.
They do.
For a lot of different, ailments and that sort of thing that people suffer from.
Yeah.
But Parkinson's is one of them.
It is.
And they've got a really remarkable center down there.
They do. Vanderbilt's a great place, and I'm so happy that they chose for the donation to go there.
I am too. And that's, of course, you're going to be giving that away tonight?
Yes.
At the football game?
Right before the football game at 6:45, we're going to make a presentation, and it's kind of special because our 10-year, mine and Will's 10-year reunion is this weekend, so we're going to be there tonight at the football game, and then, of course, celebrate tomorrow. But it's kind of a remarkable time to do that. So
well, if you hang on, that 10-year will turn around because I was just you were talking about Chris or Barnes. Of course, you guys may have graduated together.
Yeah.
That's your 10-year. That's one of the Hall of Famers that's going in tonight.
Yeah.
And then Chad, I was picking on earlier. We graduated together. It's been a little over a decade. For us, just a little, a minute. But the Hall of Fame game tonight. Of course, there is going to be a tent over by the field house, and that's something that people can go by and meet these inductees if you don't know them. Take the kids over there because you might know them, but they may not.
Exactly.
And these are people that I think these kids need to meet and need to know and ask them questions and get those answers. And hey, get their autograph on something. Let the kids do that. Get a picture and a selfie with them. I mean, that's something that. Those are people that I would love to see the kids look up to.
Yes.
And, of course, Coach Barnes was definitely that kind of human being as well.
Sure was.
And so Woodmen's, and how do they go about picking that?
So we just kind of have several members just kind of put in a nomination, and so that's kind of what was recommended. So I just said, okay, let's do it. Of course, I had no opposition to that. So it was just a remarkable thing. And so each chapter, we have our chapters, and so each chapter recognizes one hometown hero each year. So that's just a remarkable thing that we can do.
I think that's awesome.
It's part of being fraternal.
I'm telling you, when you can reward good things.
Yes.
That's because social media is it, and some of the just media in general is so full of negativity in so many different ways.
Yeah.
If we can show these kids, look, you get rewarded for doing good things and being a good person and a good human being. That's what we would love at WPKY. We love to kind of shove that in the
show it what's important.
Forefront.
That's right.
So I guess we'll see you tonight then.
Yeah, I'll be there tonight before the game. So we're excited. And if you have any questions about how I can help you or what Modern Woodmen's about, you can always give me a call. Stop by the funeral home across the street. and see what I'm up to next.
Give him a phone call, a phone number.
270-350-6590.
And he will answer you, and not only will he answer you, he'll actually call you back.
I will. Every time.
I'm telling you, it's great. It's not a robot that answers. It's fantastic. But Josh Cook with Modern Woodmen, and of course tonight we've mentioned the Hall of Fame game today a lot. That's going to be tonight, and they're going to be brought out and introduced to everybody at halftime. And of course our broadcast is going to start at 5:30. That's our pregame show, and we're going to get you prepared for all things football in the area. If you're like me and you haven't done your Friday night pick'ems yet, get on yoursportsedge.com. Let's get those pick'ems done, so that we're all competitive around here.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Cindy Lax. I'm telling you, I'm going to beat her by the end of the year. That's who I'm shooting for. But, we have a winner every week, and it's a whole lot of fun. And so Friday night pick'ems on yoursportsedge.com. Your pregame will start at 5:30. Kickoff is going to be at 7. Of course, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. And Josh Cook, we will see you there.
We'll be there.
Appreciate you and Modern Women for all
Anytime.
you do. Hey, come on out and see us tonight at Tiger Stadium. The fun is going to be everywhere and all over the place, and at the 10 at the Fieldhouse as well. It's 9:02 with Tess and Ty and 1580 103.3 WPKY.
The voice of Caldwell County. We're 1580 103.3 WPKY Princeton.